Good morning, good morning, good morning. Want to make sure that you all can hear me and see me okay. My name is Emmanuel Naweji. I'm the founder and CEO of Transformed to Succeed, in short, T2S. Today, the plan was to have Ebanga Ibane on our show, and she's a cloud engineer. She's been doing a lot of cloud and DevOps for many companies and many years. She's she was supposed to be here, but then she sent me a message earlier this morning that her kids are not doing well, and that she's taking care of them, meaning that we will not have her join today. But next week or whenever she can, she's gonna join us on our show. And it's kind of like disappointing, but this is life, right? As a parent, as a mother, you have to care for your kids. And when the kids are not doing well, you really have to give them 100% of your attention, right? So that's what she's doing today. And well, I hope your kids feel better, Ebanga, and soon we're gonna have you on the show. And and since she's not here, but what we can do today, we'll be looking at 13 trending technologies in cloud and DevOps in 2025. I'm just gonna go list these technologies, and I would really encourage you to learn and then master. At least if you can learn one for each category. This will give you an edge in this field, meaning that a lot of companies will be looking for you. So we're talking about those 13 trending technologies that you need to be aware of, that you need to have with you, you need to have in your toolbox. I'm gonna start with the first one. Looking at the first one, I would say anything that has to do with AI, AI plus machine learning. This is one of the things that are really trending today. Whether it's a full training as related to generative AI or machine learning, please familiarize with those tools. So we're talking about AI and machine learning integration. Okay, so we're talking about these things here. So this will be number one. So number one, you're looking at AI and machine learning integration. So any tool in cloud and DevOps that integrates AI or machine learning, pay attention to that. As a cloud and DevOps engineer or professional or any IT professional, or even if you were just a human resource management director, or you are a recruiter, you have to familiarize with AI and machine learning integration into any of the tools that you may want to use. An example of these tools, first of all, they can help you predict scaling. They will help you detect anomaly and also help you with self-healing systems. So that's why you need tools that integrate AI and machine learning. So yeah, examples would be like Dynatrace. Dynatrace is an AI powered monitoring and incident detection. So you use it not only to capture the logs and the metrics that you set for the whatever metrics that you defined for to optimize your system or your applications or even your infrastructure. But you can, I mean, you use this to predict the scaling, to predict or to detect anomalies and then help with self-healing systems. So it really saves you time, saves you money, and then it saves you, the energy of always fixing stuff and then getting into those log files and try to understand what's going on. But this tool will, I mean, can give you that prediction, some of those predictions. Also, you can go to some of the native tools, cloud native tools like AWS AI services. And here we're talking about SageMaker. That's an example for AI, but for AWS. That this application you can use it for machine learning model training and deployment. It's available on AWS. You can also look into Google and Microsoft Azure. They each also have some of that some of those tools with those features and capabilities. You also have AI ops platforms that you can take advantage of. Just take a look at these tools here. And you know what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to know all of these tools, but again, if in each category you know at least one tool, it's gonna give you an edge as a professional. It's gonna help you be even more productive. It's gonna add value to your life because the more skills you master, the more value you add to yourself as a professional, and the more value you can add to your clients or the company that you're working for. All right, so this is number one: AI and machine learning integration tools. So look at that. And the first one that I'll recommend, as I said, Dynatrace. You can also go to the cloud native tools and use some of them too. All right, moving on. So this is number one. We still have 12 to go, right? So we still have 12 to go. So I'm going to go fast. All right, so we go to number two now. And number two, we'll be looking at GitOps as the standard. So we're gonna look at GitOps as the standards. So this is number two here. So we're looking at GitOps as the standard. So some of the tools, first of all, GitOps offers the declarative configuration and automated deployments using Git, okay, as the source of truth. So every time you hear the word GitOps, always think of Git here as the source of truth. Okay, so always think of Git as a source of truth when you come across the word GitOps. All right, to do that, and now the tools that you can think of, and some of these tools I know them, like Argo CD. I know how to use Argo CD. Then you have Flux. I've not played with Flux. I have not played with Weave GitOps. I've not played with those three here. I know Argo CD. I've used it. So these, they help you. They help you, write configuration files or configurations that you can use to automate deployment. but you're using Git as the source of truth. Okay, so anything that is pushed to Git or GitHub, it's gonna kind of like trigger the pipeline, trigger the entire process. You can Google Argo CD docs or documents. You can Google Flux documents to begin learning more about these resources. And you can also go to Weaveworks, and you'll find a lot of good documentation there. So this is number two. Number one was AI and machine learning integration, and number two, GitOps as the standard. Let's move on. We're gonna go to number three, and if you have any questions, you know what to do. Put it in the comments box. If you're watching from YouTube, I can still see you from YouTube. I can see your comments. If you add a comment, you have a question or anything, just let me know. You're watching on Zoom, I can also see your message. If you send it to me on LinkedIn, I can also see your questions. So stop me, ask questions. Number three. Let's talk about number three. Number three, we're talking about edge computing. This is becoming very, very important. Edge computing. Edge computing allows data processing closer to the source, enabling real-time applications. Okay, so because in this age, we want things fast, right? We do not tolerate latency. Latency, that's kind of like when you click on, you want to go to a page, you want to look at an application, you want to access your account online, and then it takes like forever to load. That's latency, and we don't want that. To resolve that, a lot of companies now, a lot of cloud computing platforms, they offer edge computing. So when you do this, you need to think about tools like AWS IoT Greengrass. This is for AWS. I'm gonna remove that here. Just put it here. I don't write on top of my face, and which I've been doing so far. Okay, so AWS IoT Greengrass. So this is another. It's a local processing and device management. You can go to edge computing on Microsoft Azure or K3S. That's another tool. And as I said, and I continue to say, you don't have to know all of this stuff. I mean, know at least 75% or 50% in each category. Learn something, like number three here. Learn at least AWS IoT, how it works, and just focus on the architecture and how you can deploy it, how you can maintain it, something easy. Let's go to number four. And number four, we're going to talk about serverless and event-driven architecture. This is very, very important. We're talking about serverless. So put it on your list. You need to focus on this. Serverless and driven architecture. A lot of companies, because companies, they want something that they can scale, applications they can scale fast and easily. They don't rely on servers. When you architect any infrastructure, my encouragement would be, or my advice, my recommendation would be, think serverless rather than servers. Think service, I wanted to say, meaning that you focus on what you want to deploy. If you're provisioning, designing, implementing and deploying an application that you want people to access over the internet. Focus more on the application rather than the underlying infrastructure, if that makes sense. So you abstract the underlying infrastructure as much as possible. And that way you focus on the service. And then you use what they call loose coupling, meaning that you don't want services to be so closely dependent with each other. So they depend on each other. So you want them to be as independent as much as possible, okay, if that makes sense. But they can still communicate. And for you to do that, this is where you need to use event-driven infrastructures and architectures and serverless. What tools do we have out there that can help you accomplish this? So we have several tools. Like for AWS, you have AWS Lambda. You're studying AWS, look at Lambda, master Lambda. For a lot of cloud jobs, or cloud engineer jobs, or cloud architect or solutions architect jobs, they require, they use a lot of Lambda on AWS. So you have to know it. This is a must. When you think about Google, you're going to study Google Cloud Functions. Google Cloud Functions. It's the same, like it's similar to Lambda on AWS, but it's only on native to Google environments. Then you have Azure Functions. That's for Microsoft Azure. So what I would recommend you to do is like, okay, so for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to study AWS Lambda, Google Cloud Functions, Azure Functions, and look at how they're similar, or how they are not similar, or something like that. So you contrast and compare them. So this could be a study. This could be something interesting, like a project for you to do. And then this is what I do. You know, I'm certified solutions architect in AWS and Microsoft Azure, but I'm not in Google. So what I do when I write a script, I write something, I work on a project on AWS, I will always want to do the same, to replicate the same infrastructure on Microsoft Azure and on Google. That's how I learn. That's how I learn stuff. So do the same. Go find the documentation on AWS for Lambda, Google for Cloud Functions, Azure Functions. And we learn by doing, all right? We learn by doing. So begin doing, begin building. If you don't build, you will not learn. You have to build. You have to play. You have to go to the playground, right? If you don't go to the playground, you never learn. All right, moving on. Now we are going to look at enhanced security. And how do we achieve enhanced security? So we achieve enhanced security by using something known as security, known as DevSecOps. So you know, this is pretty much DevOps, but then you add this section here. You add sec. So security is integrated. Security is integrated into every stage of development through DevSecOps practices. Okay, so now what are the tools that I may recommend you to study? Number one would be Trivy. So Google Trivy. You can do like Trivy GitHub. You find documentation there. So go study Trivy. It helps scan for vulnerabilities and so on. And the next would be Vault. So go to Vault documentation or docs and study that. So make it something that you have to I mean, add it to your calendar, the daily activities, saying, okay, every week I need to study at least one tool. And I think in 3 months, you will be able to master a lot of DevOps, cloud and even security tools. So add those to your toolbox. Add them to your your CV, your portfolio, because this is how we grow. This is how we get better. This is how we add an edge to our lives. And then at the end of the day, it's not about how much you know. It's about how much value you add to your life, right? The more value you have in your life, and the more you can also give to other people, to companies, and that's why they will hire you, because they know that you have these skill sets, and and you can add value to that specific company. All right, moving on. So now let's talk about multi-cloud and hybrid strategies. So multi-cloud is becoming a big deal today. So you have multi-cloud, and then you have hybrid. So this is a must. You wanna succeed as a cloud and DevOps engineer. You have to master multi-cloud environments, meaning that you don't need to know only one cloud environment. So if you know AWS, learn a little bit about Microsoft Azure. If you know a little bit about Microsoft Azure and AWS, why not learn about Google? And once you master those three, I mean, you cannot be an expert in everything, right? You are an expert in like two or three things, but that doesn't mean that you don't know 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 up to 20. All right. So my point is, just master. Like if you say that you're a cloud engineer, solutions architect, or DevOps engineer, or monitoring engineer, or whatever you may call your role or name or whatever your title, but mastering multi-cloud and hybrid strategies, it's very good. It's a big plus. It's gonna give you an edge. So things that you may need to learn about would be like a HashiCorp console. So learning about that, it's gonna help you. Learning about Antos, and as well as Azure Arc. Just go Google these and familiarize with them. You can also Google something like multi-cloud projects, something like that, hybrid projects. And then here you're talking about using on-premises resources, at the same time using also resources that a company hosts on a cloud, and a given cloud. And sometimes it may be just it may be AWS. They have some resources on AWS, and also they have other resources on Microsoft Azure, and then they host, pretty much, let's say they host whatever data centers they may have on premises. They may want to replicate some of that on Microsoft Azure or AWS or Google. So knowing some of these things will really give you an edge. Moving on, let's talk about infrastructure as code. I'm gonna look at notes here and see who may have a question. This is like a one-man job here, so I have to look at that. I don't see any questions, any burning questions here. All right, so moving on. let's talk about infrastructure as code. This is something that will never, it's here to stay for a long time. Infrastructure as code, known as IAC. It's an evolution. IAC tools, they allow you to provision an entire and complex infrastructure like in minutes. Instead of doing it manually, like going to AWS, like I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to provision an infrastructure which will look like eBay or Amazon. So it's an e-commerce type of infrastructure, which will require like the back end components. Then you may probably have like the middle end in there, but you also have a front end. The front end, that's how the world access your products, right? But the back end, this is where you have you have your storage, you have sensitive information from buyers, customers, subscribers, and so on. And this is also where you have your codes, for the application and the entire infrastructure. So if you do it manually, what that means is you go like to AWS, you have to begin by creating, let's say you want to host your website on an EC2 instance, right? Because you have different codes or scripts that you're gonna host on that specific server for your application. You have HTML, you have PHP, and the list goes on. So you have all of those scripts, meaning it's gonna take you, for instance, like 15 minutes to just set up that EC2 instance, a virtual machine on AWS to host your web application. Then you have to manually open the required ports and download the PAM key, and the list goes on. So that's about 15-20 minutes just to do one component of your entire infrastructure. But with Terraform, with something like there's a new one. It's not really new, but Pulumi or CloudFormation on AWS and so on. If you use that, you only write the script once, and when you run the script, it creates everything which is part of your infrastructure in minutes. Yeah, that's what he does. And this is something that has revolutionized really the way people provision their infrastructure. In my past, I had a job. They hired me just to write Terraform scripts for them. And as you see, so begin learning the stuff. And some of the tools that I would really encourage you to start learning would include Terraform. Terraform is very popular now. And Pulumi. So look at these two here. Look at these two. They are not like bound to just one cloud or one environment or one cloud computing platform. You can use Terraform to provision infrastructure on AWS, on Google, on Azure, and the list goes on. So you can do that. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. So go to documentations online. Go to HashiCorp. Go to Pulumi docs. Learn more about these things here. All right, let me see. Any questions? Give me a moment here. Okay, somebody's asking. Yeah, we I have a link. There's a link for Zoom, which is on. It should be, in the notes. Yeah, it's there. Hold on, let me see if I can share it here. Copy. I just put it, and this is a question from YouTube. So I just posted on YouTube there. Uh, Go there, click on that link, and you should be able to join. All right, it should be there. I just posted there. Okay, any other questions from anybody? I'm gonna keep going on here. Okay, so we've we've talked about the infrastructure as code, and now let's look at monitoring and observability. These two things, they are also here to stay. Okay, so observability over monitoring. Monitoring is kind of like the old way of doing stuff here. So you have observability and monitoring. Observability kind of like takes over monitoring. Monitoring, it's kind of like a piece of observability. So what you need on when you work on your system, on your infrastructure, what you need is to make every component of your infrastructure more visible, observable. All right. Let's say you have an interview and they ask you about monitoring. Don't just talk about, well, I use these tools to monitor. No, talk about making your infrastructure more observable. And then you explain that, because you don't need only to capture metrics on as part of your monitoring process, but you have to see them. You don't have to know only. You have to visualize what's going on. Okay, this is where observability tools come in. And then you have so many out there, but for the sake of our show today, I'll talk about the first one would be Prometheus. Prometheus, you use it a lot for containerized applications. Then you have Grafana. You have Grafana. Grafana, that's another good tool that you need to familiarize with. You have Datadog. A lot of companies, they use Datadog, especially when they want to work on the entire infrastructure, like capture logs or whatever is going on, not only for an application, but they want to see everything from like the beginning of the beginning of the application life cycle to the end when the application is in the hands of your customers. So Datadog comes in very handy with that. And another tool is Open Telemetry. I've seen a lot of jobs, some jobs requiring the latest here. Uh, I know I've used Prometheus, I've used Grafana, I've used Datadog. And one of the things that I would like to learn is the last one here. So the last one, I'm gonna move this up. So it's the last one here, the Open Telemetry. I need to study that. I need to learn a little bit more about that. And I'm gonna encourage you to do the same. Do the same, study, as much as you can. Uh, okay, hold on. So some people are in the waiting room. Hmm. Okay, give me a moment here. I have some participants in the, but I don't see them here. Give me a moment here. I'm trying to connect some people who are trying to join here. Let's see. I think this should allow them to come in. Okay, so I'm changing the link on YouTube. Those watching on YouTube, click on the new link that I've shared here on YouTube, and you should be able to connect now and join on using Zoom. All right. So moving on, you're gonna need to master some of these keys, some of these tools. They're very easy, my friend. Just go to their official webpage, or there's something that I can show you here quickly. I mean, you can also go to my. There are a lot of places where you can go and learn stuff. Let me delete this quick here. I have what I did. One of the projects that I did last year was to create something that would allow people to study and master as many tools as possible as a cloud and DevOps engineer, and it's here. So master cloud and DevOps. What I did for the beginner to master course here. So you learn 20. You're gonna learn a lot of tools here. You're gonna learn a lot of tools, and then most of these tools they're very, very, very relevant today in 2025. So I was just about to say 2015, but it's not 2015. It's 2025. So to take advantage of this, and you can also go to Udemy. You find also other courses there, or go to zero to mastery.com, and many places where you can go and learn. But the point is, find something that can add value to you, and which will eventually, in the end, will give you an edge as a cloud and DevOps engineer, if that makes sense. All right, moving on. Now, there's another thing that you need to integrate into or incorporate into your daily, day-to-day profession or work or whatever you do. And this is cloud cost optimization. Because a lot of companies, they're now moving here. They're now going to cloud, right? And then one of the things that they're looking for before they hire you is to understand that, I mean, they want to know that you're going to help them cut costs down, all right? Because even though a lot of cloud companies, they claim that they're gonna, you use your services, you pay for the services as you use them, okay? Pay as you use them. But at the end of the day, those tiny prices, they're gonna kind of like accumulate, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And these companies, they need a lot of like data processing, like entertainment companies, they need to process a lot of data, right? And that's a cost. It's expensive. So now when a role opens up, they're looking for someone who doesn't not only know how to use whatever resources they use for as part of their infrastructure, but they need to know that you can help them make more profit. At the end of the day, it's about how much money have you made, right? meaning that you cut costs down, you bring it down, and you make sure that services are performing as they should always. That's a high availability, right? They can scale up, you know, they can scale up or horizontally, so vertically or horizontally. So you said you know all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about money. It's about profit. The value that you add to your company and to your customers, in return you get money. They pay you money, they pay money back to you, and that's return on investment, right? And that's why it's very crucial that you understand how to address this need. Cloud cost optimization. On every cloud computing platform, they have their own tools that can help you do this. Like AWS, we have Cost Explorer. And remember, you don't just need to focus on one tool, because Cost Explorer also have some dependencies, right? And you can integrate that. You can integrate like CloudWatch in the case of AWS and other tools, so that you set up that process as a set of different tools, and that would be your mission, like this week. Beginning of the week, the next week, beginning of the next week, make sure that you study this, and you can do that. And you don't need to put your hands on the stuff, but just take notes, create your own process or thinking process, so that when you interview for a role as a cloud engineer, you know how to answer this, because you wrote your own process. Like, this is what I've always done. Like in the case of AWS, this is my process. In the case of Microsoft Azure, this is my process. For Azure, you can use Azure Cost Management here. And like you can also use this tool here that I have not used yet, Cube Cost. You just came across it, but that could be also something that I need to look into, right? So, okay. So this is what you need to learn and focus on when it comes to cloud cost optimization. And this will make you relevant in 2025. It's going to give you an edge. Companies will be after you because they know that you're going to add value to them, to their environment, or to your team, or wherever you work. Okay, so let's move on. Now there's another tool here. This is very important. The Kubernetes ecosystem expansion. So this is, friends, it's a must. For you as a cloud engineer or DevOps engineer, you have to know Kubernetes. Okay, you have to know. You have to know this, and some of the tools that you may need to learn. It's like Carpenter with a K instead of a C. This is a Kubernetes autoscale. You use it for Kubernetes autoscaling, and you may also need to study LANs. You look at it, gives you access to the Kubernetes dashboard so that you can visualize what's going on. So focus on those things here. Moving on, I'm gonna go to now. Let's talk about developer productivity. So that will be next, and then we're gonna end, because this is we're getting close to the end of our hour, top of the hour here. All right, so focus on. You're gonna have to focus on developer productivity. This is very important because what you need, time management is very important. You use tools to free more time, as much time as possible, from tasks that are not necessary. They're very important, but you don't have to do the same task like every day. Why don't you just automate it? This is where we need automation, right? And how do you automate the entire continuous integration and deployment? You know a little bit about that, right? So you have Jenkins, you have GitLab, you have GitLab CI/CD, you have GitHub Actions, and you have Circle CI. So these are things that you need to put your hands on. If you have not done so, this is the time. You want an edge as a cloud and DevOps engineer? This is it. Yeah, this is it. So, yeah, study Jenkins. You can become a Jenkins engineer. Study GitLab. GitLab does more than just CI and CD. It can host your repositories like GitHub, and you can create projects on GitLab, projects that can help you with the rest of your team collaborate on whatever you want to accomplish, kind of like Jira, you see, where you manage your projects, your incidents, and stuff like that. And on top of that, you can set up a CI/CD pipeline just on GitLab. You do the same on GitHub using GitHub Actions. All right, and I've used the three. I've used Jenkins, GitLab, and GitHub Actions, but I have not worked on this one here. So that could be one of my goals this year, so that I have the complete list here checked. So that's just be open to learn something. Enjoy learning. Enjoy problems, because problems are good learning opportunity, growing opportunities. Be curious. Always be curious. When something is not working, do not just try to fix it. But first you try to understand why is it behaving this way. Because if you don't understand that, even if you find a quick fix, but that problem may reoccur in the future. It may happen again in the future. But what you need is to that proactive plan in place. When something happens, this is why we don't only monitor, but we also log. We also capture the logs. The timestamps about what happened and when. Okay, so you keep all of that. Not only you capture those metrics and data, but you have to have a way to visualize that. Okay, so that you see and try to understand. But when you have like a lot of data, how do you handle that? So this is why I started off by talking about AI and machine learning integrations. This is where you use a tool like Dynatrace, and which has some predictive features, integrated into that tool, and it's gonna save you time, a lot of time. When there's a problem, that's a growth opportunity. That's a learning moment. So embrace it as a professional, right? Embrace that problem with a smile, saying, hey, I'm going to learn from this issue here. All right. And part of that process is to say, how do I not allow this application to behave this way again in the future? And this is where documentation comes in handy. As a cloud, the DevOps professional or any professional, make sure you document. So document everything that you do every day. All right. And you can do it using a digital journal or digital like notepad or whatever. Uh, I use several tools for that. I use a pen, and I always have something like this here. You see, it's very small, and you see here I have notes. I have notes here, so that's what I do. I do that, and also I do it on my computer. And where do I store that information? This is where I have GitHub, and I'm gonna show it to you here quick. So on my GitHub, what I do here. So everything that I experiment on. You see here my repo here. Everything that I like this one here. I was experimenting on Python and trying to write my own calculator. So I create a calculator, and so I did this, and it was a little bit easy to just do it because I'm learning. I know a little bit of Python, so I was writing this, and then every time when I play with something, I just push it to my GitHub repository, my GitHub account. That's another way of documenting, and you're gonna see that I have a lot of stuff here. You see, all of these are my projects, and some of these are also projects related to what I do at work or for some other companies. So you do all of that, like blue-green deployment. I've done that. I've interview questions. Can you believe it? So I push everything here. That's my way of documenting. It's my library. So do the same. Create your own GitHub account, and whatever you work on, even if it's just building a Docker, a Docker image that you want to push to ECR. ECR stands for Elastic Container Registry on AWS. So you build that on your local machine, and then you want to push it. It's a very simple process, right? So you do that, and that process, push it to your GitHub. Everything that you have done, push it. One more thing I'll show you here. Let's go back here to this project here. So this is a very something that I did like 2 days ago. So create always a README. You see, I have a README here. Let's say I go to my calculator here. This is a directory, and I have different files. And you see, I have a README. A README, it's notes that explain steps about this process, saying this is what I did, because it's like teaching, helping me remember how to do this the next time I want to use this code again. So don't do it for people, do it for you. Okay? The next time when you don't remember the steps, then you just come back here, say, hey, step number 1, this is what I did, and so on and so forth. So this is just an example to show you how you can, use these tools and document every process that that you do as part of every project that you work on. All right, so I'm gonna stop here, and I said that we wanted to talk about 13 things here. So the next 2, or the last 2 things here is there's what they call the rise of sustainable cloud computing. So going green. So using our resources wisely, keeping in mind that, okay, resources are not eternal. So when you use it, they deplete, right? And that applies also to cloud environments. It's not like infinite resources that we have. No, they're going to deplete at some point. Even cloud computing companies, they use data centers. They host whatever we send to them on physical, super big computers. Those are physicals, okay? So yeah, they're using resources from the earth, from the environment, and so on. And and it's important to know, to be aware of that. You can go to AWS Sustainability Program. So, incorporating this into your strategy, into what you do as as a cloud and DevOps engineer, it's gonna be very helpful. It is really gonna be very helpful. And the other thing here is Google Carbon Aware Computing. On my YouTube, I'm gonna add all of the everything that I've shared with you. It's gonna be in the notes on my YouTube channel, and I'll put it also on LinkedIn later. All right, so just add this. Just be aware of this. You don't have to be a master at this. Be like an expert. No, just just add it to your strategy when you meet with an interviewer or client. Make sure that you mention, sustainability as part of your approach. Lastly lastly, data driven DevOps. Knowing that a lot of companies are now going to the cloud, they rely on you helping them manage data, the data that they accumulate and stuff like that. So tools like Splunk, even though it's an old tool, it's very important to know ELK stack. And then here you can also add Grafana, you can add Dynatrace, you can also add Datadog, and so on. You also have cloud native tools that you can integrate into this. All right, we left with 2 minutes. I'm gonna give you just some time to ask me questions if you have any. But otherwise, this is pretty much what I had to share with you all today. I hope that we will have our special guest sometime next week. If not, it's gonna be maybe yeah, the following week. So we'll see. And in the meantime, I'll be working on something nice that I'll share with you all next week. You reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's kind of like the best place where you can find me. So go to LinkedIn, my profile, and reach out to me. Do appreciate you all for joining today. Well, you have a good weekend and enjoy the next week. God bless. Take care. Take care of your people, your loved ones. Take care of yourself, and be as healthy as you can, because companies, they need you, your families need you, your friends need you. So mind, soul, and body. God bless. I'll talk to you next week.